Namaste and welcome to React Bits. Building some cool personal projects and publishing it online or publishing its code in GitHub is an awesome way to add new items to your portfolio if you have not done any projects or works, or if you have not had your first job yet. And these personal projects can help you land a job or help you get noticed in the community. So today we are going to build this GitHub visualizer app, where if you pass a username of a GitHub user, it will create awesome visualization of the data of that user. Like you can see the profile, number of repositories, total followers, total following, and as well as top language. For me it's Dart. Obviously I'm doing Flutter a lot. And top stars for language, again it's Dart, 95%. So yeah, again this is because I am working with Flutter a lot. I also have most starred repositories and most forked repositories in the chart. Then I have my top repositories listed here. Top 9 repositories are listed here. So Flutter UI Challenge is one of my most popular repository with 2400 stars and almost 900 forks. So this is what we will build in today's episode using Svelte. So for those of you who do not know Svelte, it's a UI framework like React or Vue.js. However, the major difference is that Svelte is compiler, unlike React and Vue.js. So it doesn't have any framework related codes. Everything that you write with Svelte gets compiled down to JavaScript during build phase. So there is no framework overhead, or there is no shadow DOM or virtual DOM, and it's truly reactive using HTML, CSS and JavaScript itself. And it's quite easy to get started with. The best way to get started with Svelte is using their tutorial. If this is the first time you are hearing about Svelte, I suggest you go through this tutorial before or after this video. So go through this tutorial. They have quite simple tutorials covering all the basics stuff regarding Svelte, or you can go through the examples that are basically all the examples in the tutorial completed. Okay, so let us get started. To get started, we will use the official method using digit. We will create new project. So in the command prompt, go to your project folder. Here I will create new application using npx digit svelte.js/template, and this will be my Svelte GV, that is GitHub visualizer. Okay, it's installed. Now I can open with Visual Studio Code, Svelte GV. Okay, let me close this. Now if we check, we have app.svelte, and it's basically a Svelte file with script tag, main and style tag, okay, together. So if you have been working with Vue.js, it might look somewhat similar, because in Vue we have similar, like we have a script tag and a style tag and template tag. However, in Svelte there is no template tag. Okay, and this is somewhat different than React. So in React, we create components, we write HTML inside JavaScript. However, we do not do that in Svelte. And if this is the first time you are looking at Svelte code in Visual Studio Code, then you need to install some extensions. So if you search in extensions with Svelte, you find some of them. I have installed Svelte for VS Code for language support and syntax highlighting, etc. and Svelte IntelliSense, then Svelte 3 snippets. I also have installed Prettify or Prettier to format, so auto format these codes. Now, if we look at main.js, we simply have a app bootstrap, and this is creating an app and injecting it inside document body. And if we look at the package.json, there is something awesome. The awesome thing is all the dependencies are inside dev dependencies, not in dependencies. That means in runtime, we don't need any dependency. This SIRV CLI is for solving it during development. So all required things are in dev dependencies. So Svelte will handle all the compiling and generate the pure JavaScript that does not require these dependencies at the end. So Svelte applications have a lot less boilerplate and they are a lot faster. That is what I believe. To learn more about Svelte, you can watch the video by its creator, Rich Harris. The link is provided in the description. Do make sure to check it out. It's awesome. Now, let us add some of the dependencies that we require. And for that, I'll be using yarn. You can use npm as well. Yarn add -d. So we'll add AutoKit REST for interfacing with GitHub REST API. Then we'll add Svelte Frap charts for creating various charts. And finally, we'll add Svelte SPA router for routing or creating routes. So let us add these dependencies. It will take some time to add these dependencies and complete our installation. Once that is complete, it should generate yarn.log file, and if you are using npm, it should generate package.json.log file. Okay. Okay, until this happens, let's go ahead and set up some things. So let me open up a browser, and here so if I go to api.github.com/users and / the username of the user, so for example, this can be your username, you'll get the public data that is available for this GitHub user. Let me copy this, okay, and create new data folder, and here let's create user.js, and let's simply const user equals this. So let me move this comments above. Okay, so I'm just creating a static user here so that I'll not have to do the request in the beginning just to create my component. Okay. Now let us go to app.svelte. We want to change most of the things here. If we go to app.svelte, first what we'll do is we'll remove this name, and let's go to, first let us run this. So yarn dev. So if we run this with yarn dev, it should by default run in port 5000. However, my port 5000 is used by something else, so it's running on different port. And if we see now, we can see this hello world, and we can play with it. This world is coming from this name, and this is passed in as a parameter from props. From here we can change this hello Svelte, and this should have changed. Okay, this is quite awesome. Let me put it here side by side. Okay, so let me remove this. Let's remove this prop, and this will be undefined. That's fine. And here I will just remove all these. Okay, and let's remove these, all of these as well. And for the simplicity and for some styling, I'm using Bulma CSS. So in my index.html, I will add Bulma CSS CDN link. So before global.css, I'll simply add the Bulma CSS CDN link. You can find this in their website, or you can even search for it in Google and you can find this link. Okay. Now in app.svelte, first thing we'll set up some routes. So import router from Svelte router, and we need to create few things for this. One of that is routes.js. So we need to create a file called js, and another we need to create few routes. So let's create routes slash home.svelte, another user stats.svelte. So we'll have a home page and the user stats page. Okay, so in routes.js we need to set up these routes. So let us go to routes.js. Here we will export const route equals, so first the root route, this should be home, and this home should be imported from our home.svelte. So from home.svelte. Okay, we have home. Next, user slash username. So this colon username makes this a route parameter instead of fixed route path. User stats, and this should be imported from routes user stats.svelte. We now have our routes. Now in app.svelte we will import routes from routes. Okay, and in main we will simply create router routes. Now we don't have any error, it's building. However, we cannot see anything here. This is because our home.svelte has nothing. So here simply let's add h1. Let's make it home page, so we should be able to see the home page. Okay, great. I'm using Bulma, so I need to add title in order to make this look like a title. Let's go to user stats page, and let's simply for now render user stats page, and this should be available if I navigate to /user/abc. as this is single page application routing, SPA routing, so we need to add hash. So we have different pages that we can navigate. For now, let's go back to home page and build our home page as we have seen in our demo. So let us build our home page. Here we will start from HTML first. So we'll have a div inside which we need to have a GitHub icon that I'll show in a bit, and then title. So let's use Bulma for styling here. So this PT2 gives 20px margin at the top. Then we need input, type text, class equals input, and we need to add certain functions. For now, this is it. Let's add some styling. Okay. Let's give this div a class. Okay. And let's add styling for this. So height 100 VH, we'll make this full height, width 100%, then display flex, justify content center, and then center. Okay, I'm doing this in user stats page. This should have been in home page. Let me just copy this, Ctrl Z, everything, and let's go to home and paste this. So we should be able to see it now. So flex direction column. Okay, and let's add another div so that we can give some padding and some more things around. And we have this margin outside. Let's remove that. For that, let's go to our global.css, remove everything. Okay, now in home.svelte, let's wrap this inside content with another div, and let's move this inside this div, and let's give some styling. Okay, flex direction common, text align center, then align items center, justify content center, and width 300 px. Okay, and let's give color for title white smoke. Okay, so we now just need the GitHub icon to make our design complete. So I have a GitHub icon as a SVG. Okay, I have a GitHub icon as a SPG, which I'll create here inside src folder. Let's create components slash GitHub icon.svelte, where I can paste this, and this has a class called octo icon. So let's add a style octo icon. Let's give it a color of 92122D. Okay, and let us add this GitHub icon in our home page. So script so I import the GitHub icon.svelte, and here I use GitHub icon. So now we can see the GitHub icon as well, and this looks similar to our actual design, but we need this corner icon. This we can add later. For now, this is fine. Okay, now what we need to be able to do is, when we add a username here and press enter, we should be redirected to user stats page. Okay, and let's code that functionalities. For that, first we'll create a variable here called username, and we'll bind that to the input. So we can bind any variable to the input field so that it will get the value from that variable, and when we change it in one place, so if we assign something to username, it will be reflected in this input field. If we change in input field, the username will change. So let us bind here, bind value, and this will be username. Now if we assign here, this should be reflected here. See, we can see the value. Okay, now the final thing is, when user taps enter, we need to redirect to the new page. So first let's create a function, handle key press, it will get event, and inside here we'll check if event.key code equals 1313. Then first we'll check if username. So if username has some value, then we redirect href plus equals as slash users slash username. So this is the location that we have to be redirected to. I might have some errors here. Let's check. Okay, unexpected token. Oh, okay, we missed arrow here for the function. Now this should compile safely, and now if we tap enter here, we should be redirected. So okay, we still have to bind this. So on key up, we bind this. So here we bind handle key press function. So now if we tap enter, we are redirected, and our username should be successfully available in the panel here. So we did few things here. We created a Svelte component, we imported another Svelte component inside home.svelte, and we were able to display that in here, and we are able to handle key press event. We are also able to bind the value of a variable in a input field. Okay, now we move on to user stats page. So in user stats page, first we'll work with static values. Okay, and for that script, so here we need this params is required for us to get the value from this URL parameters. We need to be able to get that. And let's create few more components here. For now, let's start. Okay, so we need a back button. Let's add button back. We need a back button, and here let's add some class. So it's primary. Now we have our primary button. Let's add some style here. Okay, dot. Let's make this position absolute, top 10px, left 10px. And for going back in navigation, we have a function called pop that comes from Svelte SPA router. So let's import that. And we can bind that pop method to on click here. On click pop. So if we add this, now if we click, we should be able to go back. And if we press enter, we should again go to our user stats page. Next, we'll display the user's profile. And for now, we'll be using this static users value before making a API request. So let us create a component, profile.svelte, and in users, let us import profile.svelte. Okay, and here let us display profile. And in profile, the first parameter we'll expect is the user. So script, and here export let user, and we need to pass this user from here. So user equals user, and we need to define this user. So for now, we'll import this user from this data. So okay, and we are passing this user to the profile page. Let us just display user.login. Okay, we can see the login value here. So let's move on to profile. So this will be our header. Seven. So some margin at the top. So we'll display the avatar. img. So avatar user dot avatar URL. This is available from GitHub. Okay, we have the avatar URL. Alt. Let's add some styling for avatar. So for avatar, Let's add border radius 100%, so we have a circle. Then overflow hidden, so anything beyond that is hidden. Width 150px, height 150px, so that we have a circle. And then border 0.5 rem, solid, and color is 92122D. Okay, we have our profile as well. And let's add some styling to dot profile. So background color, will not add this here. So here we'll just text align center, then padding 20, display flex direction column, align item center, justify content center. So we have our profile avatar. Then let's display details of user. So h1 dot title m.mp7. Here we'll display user dot name. Great. Now p dot subtitle a dot a, so href will be user dot HTML URL, and here we'll display the user dot login. We can even add the @ sign here. So we have user's login name. Now we'll display certain user details. First p, here we'll display user's bio. Again side, here we'll display various user details like user's company, then user location, and then join new created at dot to local date string, and here we'll pass in US and some formatting options like month long, day numeric, year numeric. So we get proper date here, January 9 2014. We have these details. Now we'll show the cards. That display number of repositories, number of followers, and number of following. So inside card content, and here number of public repositories, then Okay, public repos. I have a spelling error, typo. So now we can see that. Now let us add some styling to our cards. So dot cards display flex, and then dot card content span, font size 1.5 rem, and font weight bold. Great. Now we can duplicate this and display followers and following. Following, followers. So we now have the basic profile header. Let's try this. It looks similar. Should look similar to this. Okay, header looks similar, and this GitHub icon we can add it later, and this background we can add the background. That background should be added here. So let's add here the background div, and let's give this styling dot bg z index minus 999. We want it at the back, position fixed, height, let's give a fixed height of 600 pixels, width 100%. Let's go back. Background color as 92122DAA. Okay, and then top 0, right 0. So we have a fixed background here. Now we need to make some changes in profile. First, this card should have PL2, not padding, ML, margin, and margin. So we see some gaps here, and we need to make all this text white. So let's make changes. Title empty. These classes are from Bulma CSS. You can find more information in their website. I think we need here. It's text white. Okay, so we now have proper looking profile. We can go back and come forward. Next, I'll bring in some functions that will help us get details from GitHub API and make these charts. I'll bring some helper functions. So for that, inside src, I'll create utils, gh-utils, so GitHub utils.js, and let me bring in all the functions. You can find these functions in the GitHub repository that is provided in the description below. Okay, so I have a function here that will get all the repositories, that will go through all the pages and gets all the repositories for a particular user using OctoKit REST API. Then I have another function that will get the user by username, and then another function that will get user stats. Okay, so we'll be using this function. So this function should be able to get the user and then again get all the repos and give back the user repositories and headers back to the caller. Okay, so now we move on to user stats page so that we can implement these functions. So in user stats page, let us import get user stats from utils/gh-utils. Okay, and here username comes from params dot username, and finally let response equals get user stats. We need to pass in the username. Once we have this response, we can await it in our style here. So promises can be await using quite good syntax. It await. Okay, we are awaiting res, and here if we are awaiting, we show loading, inside which we show a progress. This is primary, max 100. We have a progress bar. Then we get back users, repos, headers. We get back these three things: users, repos, and headers. So we'll bring in this profile here. Sorry. Okay, and let's remove this user. We should still be able to get the detail of this user. Sorry, this is user. See, we are still getting the details of this user. Now we will show the request details. So how many requests is left? I'm just copy pasting these information here. So here I have div class limits has text light. So the request left is showing here. Let's just add some styling to this limits. So I'm just copy pasting. So limits position absolute, we want it below this back button. Okay, nice. So we add some more for loading, so that while it's loading, this other backgrounds are not displayed. So if we add this, it will be apparent if we refresh. So it's already loaded. Let's try making some changes. Okay, so we have profile that we can get. So let's try some other username. Let's try another username. It's loading. We can see the proper loading here. And yes, we have the correct user profile that we get from API. Roddy Davis is an awesome Flutter developer, Flutter contributor, awesome developer. See his profile, is great. Now we can get the list of repos. We are also getting the list of repos. We only need to visualize them. So let's try this, and let's create another component called top repos.svelte, and in user stats we will import components top repos, and here so we pass in the repositories that we get back from API. And finally, in top repos script, here we should repos. Okay, once we have the repos, we also import chart. Svelte frap charts, so that we can create charts. So now I will copy some functions that will create all these chart data sets and all the required parameters from repositories. So from repositories, it will create all these sorted by forks, top 10 forked, starred, sorted by stars, top 10 starred, different languages. All these things are calculated, and we have chart data here for individual charts. And let me bring in the code and styling for this. So I'll just simply copy paste these. Let me remove this. So now we have the complete functionality. I'll show you here what have I pasted. So we have a container, we have charts. Inside chart, we are creating this chart from chart data, then another from language charts data, and another from top repo chart, another from top fork chart. So top languages, stars per languages, then top repos, most starred repos and most forked repos. We have 4 charts. Then we have top 10 repositories listed here where we can navigate to those repositories. And I have some SVG icons for this star, for this fork, etc. So to get these codes, please refer to the GitHub repository provided in the description below. You can find the complete code there. I'm not describing all these steps regarding charts and these calculations. It's very basic JavaScript like sorting and slicing, which you can understand if you know the basics of JavaScript. So please go there and see these codes and try to understand and make your own version of this. Don't copy everything exactly. So make your own version, make some changes, make some UI improvements. Also, thank you everyone for watching this tutorial. Let me know in comments, how did you like my tutorial? How good was it? And also let me know if you want to have more tutorials on Svelte. So for me, I have been doing React for quite some time, React.js. And when I started looking at Svelte, it felt so easy to get started. The learning curve was very small, I must say, because it's almost like doing HTML, CSS and JavaScript. There are few new things, but it's very easy. And to properly get started with Svelte, please visit their website svelte.dev and follow along the tutorials. They have quite nice set of tutorials that you can basically follow along in their website, and you can do the code. You can see the end results in their REPL. Okay, thank you everyone. See you again in the next video.